introductions. Again, I think most of you, except for Denise, perhaps have met me before. I'm the senior online designer here at Ferris. I've been here for 3 years, and prior to that was at GVSU and NMC, and have been basically addicted to various forms of teaching since right after undergrad, so 30 years in.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to go next?
Sure.
I'm Denise Burns. I am from College of Health Professionals, the dental hygiene program, and I'm a clinical hygienist, so I work one-on-one with the students in clinic. I teach a local anesthesia lab and taught my first class this year in radiology. I did the didactic portion and coordinated all the labs. So I was apologizing to my students all the time with Zoom. I've been at Ferris for 16 years. I would show you my picture, but the reason why I'm at home is I had some eye surgery, so I look pretty scary.
That is one of the nice features about Zoom, is we can do that when we have choice, or just put up a picture or create our own background.
Actually, I'll go next, and there's something related there. Spence Tower faculty in the College of Business, teaching a little bit of the MBA class and mainly the capstone course for College of Business students. Been involved in strategic planning and a variety of other parts on campus. And then one thing, Denise, that you made me think about, which I have just forgotten. I'm so embarrassed. I'm gonna have to come back to that.
It'll come back. It'll come back to you, Spence.
That's true.
Hi.
Well, go ahead, Laura.
Okay. Hi, I'm Laura Sorg. I'm the school of nursing adjunct and teach basically informatics type courses.
And I'm Felix Emisa with College of Pharmacy. I teach pharmacology. Specifically, I teach foundations of pharmacotherapy and integrated pharmacotherapy series.
Oh, I think you're waiting for me, Tracy. Dan Campbell, technologist with the e-learning team. I've been at Ferris just under 10 years, but with e-learning for about 6 months.
Dan is one of those people. In part of his previous career, he worked with Boy Scouts, and it's been great because, as any of you, and I taught 4th grade, pretty much it's, if you can handle large groups of children, it makes this whole pandemic craziness of all the different moving parts and pieces, not bad by comparison. So thank you everyone for being here. And we were so glad when Dan joined our team for help, especially through this time. So I'm putting the link to today's presentation in the chat, and that way it's set to view. I still need to add on the last slide, I just have a link to our training page, and so it's not that nice, cool, professional ending slide that I have dreams of having. But if you do click the link on the ending slide to this, it does take you to our e-learning training page where we have resources, including all the ones that we'll be mentioning today. And then some of the images and the ideas that I'll be showing, I am also, they are in that presentation. So if you want to know more or want to click later, you can always find this. And then again, we'll be hosting the recording, and at any time, absolutely reach out. So don't feel like if we squish too much in and you can't remember it, all you need to remember is, hey, I saw something in, and we can figure out to help you later. So no worries on trying to capture everything. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and thank you, Dan, for adding that information into the chat. And absolutely use the chat at any time for questions, or just blurt out. I am completely fine in this small group setting. Interrupt at any time. I will be pausing for some questions, but interrupting also works great when it's just in Zoom. And again, since we can't always see each other's face to get those cues as easily, it's nice to be able to just have people, blurt out or use the chat or raise your hand, which is another option that people can do. So today our focus really is just on, again, as part of launching your successful first semester, what are those things that you need to do right off the bat? And so yesterday, when we were talking about just kind of overarching things to consider for this semester, I used the example of getting on a ship. And for today, when we're looking at the clear communication and those things for the beginning, I'm just kind of the metaphor of the maze came to me because I think for many of our students, and actually for many faculty even, teaching online and teaching multiple courses online, especially adjuncts balancing day jobs and multiple emails and family life, this whole world of being online can feel like a maze. And our goal in going through this session and the planning that you guys will be doing is to make sure that it may at first glance look like a maze, but that we have in place all those features that will help students feel that no matter where they are in that maze, they can find what they need, know what they need to be able to do, get help from you, and they are not alone and lost. I had fun kind of trying to find an image for this slide. And I put some additional links on this. So when we talk about that first week, some of the pieces are, or one of the first pieces that people think about, especially moving from face-to-face to online, is your syllabus, because no matter what modality you teach, you've got that in place or have had that in place in the past. And so some of the goals of the syllabus, I use the park, again, as a metaphor, just continuing that overall feeling of a trip, because in the online world, we are guiding them into this, unknown computer where you can go anywhere and get overwhelmed or lost much more easily than in a face-to-face environment where you walk in a door, walk down a hall, walk into a classroom, and everything's more, self-contained. I added here the link to the spring 2021 syllabus attachment, and I am going to click to open that just so you can see where it is. I know it's gone out. I think Leonard sent it to the deans, and I know it's gone out in other, other formats. So I thought it would take okay, there we go. But I wanted to make sure that you knew that it is actually in what we have at one of our classes that is, again, all these links are here, so don't worry about finding them right now. But it's in this Keep Teaching course that we have, where we have many of these getting started resources for you. But this university-wide syllabus attachment is here as a Canvas page, so you can copy that directly into your class. And that is the updated one from the re-entry committee. I think they also have sent it out as a PDF form, but everything is there for your use to add. Just did want to make sure everybody did have that. Some things when you're thinking about this first week, and going back to that trip metaphor, is that when we're looking at our syllabus, when we're looking at the course schedule, when we're looking at that communication plan, it is, in terms of online and distance education, we call that kind of like the orienteering phase, because we really are looking at getting people acclimated to, again, what do you need to do for the next 14 weeks? So we have this window of opportunity to set a great stage with some of these documents. This link that's also in that presentation, again, it's a lot to take in, so it's there for later. But one of the groups I worked with years ago created this checklist for best practices. And it's really helpful to have and go through your different courses, because it has each stage. So you can go through, like where we are right now, we're getting ready to orient the students. And it has a list of those types of things that we need for our students to be able to do. So that's a nice resource to make sure that we've got the different pieces in our courses for them. So I included that again, because the last thing we want is people recreating the wheel. But the biggest goal, in your syllabus is that clearly communicating expectations. Traditionally, the syllabus is considered a contract. So one thing that has not changed to anything that I have ever heard differently, whether you're teaching hybrid, online, or face-to-face, is that recommendation that you do include a line on your syllabus stating that you as the faculty member teaching the class have the right to make changes to the syllabus at any time, and you will send it out to them. You know, making sure that, you know, that you protect yourself and your right to make changes throughout the course. So I always recommend people do add that. So as much as the syllabus is a contract and it can be kind of, you know, overwhelming and boring in some ways, I want to go through some different ways that it looks in Canvas and different ways that you can help break it down using some Canvas tools and some other things in case you haven't seen them, so that you can help your students succeed. So one of the ways people in Canvas communicate their syllabus is they add a Canvas page. And it looks, again, just like a Word document in Canvas. As a matter of fact, if you have a Word document where you already created it and you have the headers, you can just copy and paste it straight into a new page in Canvas. And you can see, you know, this is one from Karen Keogh in hospitality. So Spence may have seen similar versions as he works with her. And I'm using hers as an example. I just wanted to show what it looks like. It is the complete page, and I want to go through how she does it just to show how in Canvas it looks and some of the critical pieces that she includes. One of the things I like about working with Karen Keogh and then also Amy Dory, because they're in hospitality, they phrase things elegantly and beautifully. At the same time, they're also very succinct. There's not extra, but they do just a beautiful job of making sure things are clear and kindly stated. So some benefits in using this in Canvas, thinking through when the students are there and they click on your syllabus as a page, she's got the direct link and she's made it a hot link. So students immediately, oh, I have a problem. I need to contact my instructor. Boom, click on the link. There she is. I want to make an appointment. She puts in her Calendly link. This is a nice feature. So right here, that's where she has it for the students who do want to print one and have the whole entire syllabi right there, or syllabus right there. You know, a lot of people keep a notebook for their classes. Then she has it where they can print it. And she puts that next directional line, scroll down, and lets them know it's the same thing in the web page. So whichever way they want to do it, she's got both covered. And it is, initially it was a copy and paste job, so it's the same information. And I'm going to skip kind of through some of the basic information description because those are kind of required things that most people are very comfortable already having. But she does go through and does a great job. Again, she links right here to the policy where it's relevant, puts in, you know, the different pieces. She gives them certifications, again, grounding her class in her discipline, which is really nice. Again, helping those students understand why are they doing this? Because even for our students now, there may be things that, you know, they're not always happy about this pandemic life either. She has a section in support of your success and goes into excused absences. And again, it's not super large, but it's enough so that students know, you know, excused absences may be granted under the following condition. And she puts, you know, permission and verification required for different things. Doesn't ask for specifics because we don't really want to know everything about our students' personal life. That's an invasion of their privacy and more information than we need. But it gives them kind of the categories. And again, links out to the original PDF. You can see by the beginning of that link, that's what's online. So she doesn't have to keep changing that. That's, if that changes on the web, the link automatically reflects it. For students, this is also very helpful. The non-exemplars, I love that. Computer and connectivity problems. And that's something that, you know, people vary on that, but at this point in time, we all have computer and connectivity problems at times, but we, at this point in time, most people have identified where they may occur and have backup plans. But letting students know, again, different reasons. And she has the online etiquette, but she goes also through other details. What does this look like? So I'm going to stop there. You know, she goes, you know, difficult discussions. She adds in disability statements, Title IX. Again, most of these are required, but some of this, you know, again, she makes sure to add in the explanation and her explanation of what this looks like and what she believes. So I'm going to stop there and see, does anyone have any other questions about using a Canvas page and for your syllabi, or, you know, reasons for including or not including certain things?
Yes, actually, she had some hyperlinks, not just a website listed, but if you were to cursor further down, she had some words like go here, and the here would be clicked on, and I assume then it goes to either a website or a separate document. Is that within the PDF that she pasted, or was that something she needed to do within the Canvas editing functions?
This she hyperlinked in the Canvas editing functions. However, if you had these links correctly done in your PDF or Word document, and I recommend copying from the Word document into your Canvas page rather than the PDF, because it will come over. So you're formatting, if you already hyperlinked it in your Word document, your Word document hyperlink should come over into your Canvas page directly.
Okay, so I see that for what you specifically have right now, but there were a couple, again, the words were here. You know, you could find this here. And
Yeah.
I think it's further up.
Yeah, she could have had it. She could have had it in her original one, or she could have, you know, highlighted something and used the hyperlink function in Canvas. And if you're making something, you know, again, this is her class, so I will show it, but I'm not going to make changes, obviously, because it's her class. But if you are in a Canvas page in our 4 o'clock section, we'll talk more about some of the details of this. But if you're not familiar with using Canvas features, it's similar to Word. If you highlight something, there's a link function right there. And you can either link to an external link, or what's really nice about Canvas, it gives you the choice to the course link, and you can go to a specific page and it will put it in with the exact words and title. You don't have to do anything else.
This is a good time to highlight what Karen's done here to get the formatting just the way she wants. Is she's got a series of tables in this editing box here. That, you know, involves some HTML stuff in the background, and she's making this work for what she wants. But I just wanted to mention, if any of you want to do something similar, do feel free to get a hold of us, because we know that editor can be a little finicky, especially if you're just doing a copy paste from a Word doc or something like that. It's not going to come over 100% as you expect.
Yeah, and absolutely, that's a great point, Dan, because at any time, you know, make sure, and any faculty that you come in contact with, you know your content and you know what you want to say, but things like the formatting, don't get sucked into spending 2 hours on your formatting to make sure it looks exactly the way it's supposed to look. You know, if you spend a couple minutes and it's not the way you want it, go ahead. We used to call it, when I was at NMC, we called it the 5-minute rule. Just reach out and ask us. We do not expect you to learn HTML code any more than I hope you need to learn, you know, pharmacology. I mean, I'm sure I could, but it's not going to happen in the next 15 minutes. It would probably take the same number of years it took you. So reach out on anything, like on the surface stuff of what it looks like.
Great, thank you.
And yeah, absolutely, tell anybody else as well. So that is one of the most common ways. I also want, before I move on, I want to the different example. I want to show you how that looks in her Canvas page. She starts with a welcome. A lot of people, so it comes in the module, and the way many people include this is, you know, it's the first module and they just call it Start Here. And in that module, not only does she have that syllabus right there, that's the page that I just showed you, she has these individual things broken out as well. And some of these are either identical or similar to what's, you know, already in the printed syllabus, but some of them are things that are, you know, flesh out some additional things. Like, for example, this faculty expectations page. You know, again, for the students, she did have that in the syllabus, you know, as far as how to behave, but then she also has this nice page, which, again, this one I have in the Keep Teaching for anyone to use and share. She's given permission for this, or I would not be saying this. And it's just a list. This is what she expects of them, of the students. And then this is what they can expect from her. And then the other reason why I asked her permission to share it out with faculty is tips for emailing. So again, she lets them know how she wants to be approached. In the online world, that's really helpful because in face-to-face, it's so much easier in some ways. If you're teaching a class and you've got 25 students or however many students, and one of them says, hey, you just ignore them a lot of times. And someone else raises their hand and says, oh, Professor Russo, and then you call on them and they all get it. They know what happened. But in the online world, it's not as easy to do. So having that made explicit is just a really nice thing to do for your students. It makes them feel comfortable. They know what's expected, just like anybody else. Nobody wants to do something wrong because they don't know what they're doing.
Can you share the expectations with me?
Yep.
I like the way it is so succinct.
Yep. I will share. It is, when we get to the last slide, I'm going to show you where to find all of these.
Okay.
Yep. Because we have them in a class called Keep Teaching with some other samples as well. So she had it as the syllabus page, so I showed you that one. However, Canvas acts a little differently. So I want to show this because even if you've been teaching, a lot of you taught more in Blackboard and may not have even had time to explore some of the ins and outs of using the syllabus feature in Canvas and some other ways students can access information. So we're going to go to a different class. And this is, again, another one in the College of Business that went through the CDA process by Jean Inabene. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, Spence, but she teaches accounting and has done a great job. And you can see here the way she's got her course syllabus. She is using, in Canvas, some of you may have noticed, there is a tab right here already called syllabus. So this is where that's automatically in everybody's Canvas course. And I wanted to show it because you might not realize that it's not your syllabus unless you put your syllabus here. So what she did is she's got here, that's the full syllabus, just like the version that Karen had, except it's for Jean's class. You know, she's got the attachment, the university addendum, and she also put the course schedule here, which is as a standalone, which again, thinking in terms of student opens their Canvas, they see a syllabus link, they click here, so they're still going to get the information they would expect to get. However, or in addition, depending on whether you consider it positive or negative, in Canvas, this course summary bit, that's an automatic feature that Canvas has. So if you have assignments that are there with a due date, it will show them in chronological order by due date. So we always make sure, and we want faculty to know, because if you don't communicate to your students otherwise, and say, for example, you have some assignments that don't have a due date, some students might click on the syllabus, and students being students may not choose to click on the course schedule, and they might click on here, and they're like, sweet, that's all I have to do, no problem. And they go through those things, and they do that, and then they wonder why you failed them, or why they're getting a bad grade. And it's because maybe they, they didn't do the readings, they didn't show up to class, they didn't do the group project, and other things that may not be on this course summary.
We should also make a note, the syllabus page, you'll notice Jean has moved that very close to the top of the list. By default, you probably know that list is alphabetical, so syllabus is going to be quite further down unless you physically move it to the top. And that is something we encourage. Just make it super obvious and visible by keeping it near the top, because that's something students are going to be looking for, right out of the gate.
So again, she just did a simple, upload of the document. And again, going back to the way Canvas works, Dan will show it to you a little bit later, but if she went in to edit, once she goes in edit, she adds that attachment and it will find it in her files, or she can upload it, and Canvas puts that link there, just like that. You don't have to do additional hyperlinking of that. Some people, if they have a lot of things that are not graded or don't want to use that, you can also hide that link so students don't click on that. Again, that's instructor choice. So either make it obvious up at the top or don't put it there. And see, she's got, we start here where she's got a welcome, and she doesn't have that same syllabus page that we saw in Karen's class, because she is steering them to that link. And again, either or is fine. Okay. So those are some of the different ways that you can have that. And then.
Is it necessary to include both the page format and the length as in the syllabus that is already in there? Is it necessary? Or you just keep to one?
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. Can you say that again?
So the first time you have the syllabus, you copy the Word document into a page and then link it. Now this one, you are using the already established syllabus link that is already in Canvas, and then you add your attachment to it. I'm asking whether it is necessary to do both or you just keep to one.
I recommend that part of it goes on your skill level in Canvas, but I recommend, especially if you are a beginning user to Canvas, to do just one. So that way you don't accidentally end up putting wrong information in the other one. However, a lot of times what I recommend people do, so for example, so in this first one where she had it as a page so that she could edit it, what I recommend doing is put in there, kind of like a cross-reference link to each one. So letting them know they could go here, but then here on this one, for example, on jeans, if I also had a page, I would put right, somewhere here, I would add in the words and the link to see complete syllabus page here and cross-reference them, if that makes sense. But you only need to have one. And if you are just starting out with multiple classes, I recommend start with one so that it's manageable for you.
Tracy, I didn't know if you want to mention, it's possible to kind of merge those ideas. What Jean's done here, where she's posted her documents, that space acts just like a page, which would be identical to the page that that the other our other colleague created for this purpose. So Karen would have created a page to paste all that information. It looks identical to this space that you're seeing right now. So you can do the copy paste into this space right on the syllabus page if you prefer.
And you could do it where it says, for example, syllabus's web page, it would be the exact same thing where you could highlight it and link it to a different page. But yeah, like Dan's saying, this page is whatever you want it to be. The biggest difference is in that syllabus one that Canvas creates, cancel that, you get this course summary down there. Whereas when you make your own page, that does not have that. So again, that can be good or bad.
Yeah, one of the downsides is if you paste your whole syllabus into that text box, the course summary table is kind of going to get buried at the bottom. So depending on how concise you are, they might be scrolling for quite a ways.
Yeah, some of the nice uses I've seen, kind of going with what Dan's saying about just combining the two, is they use this part and then they use the edit feature of this top part as a web page, but then in the top part, they stick to instructor contact information, and then they give the printable full versions of this and let people know just where to find whatever else. So again, it's short and sweet, but it does, at least going back to how the student is going to see it. Oh, I'm stressed. It's 11:59. I just screwed up. I know my stuff's not due. How do I get a hold of my instructor? If they click on the word syllabus, which is where you might look, it would have in that, right there, it would have the instructor contact information. I mean, there are other ways that students can find it, but traditionally in higher ed, the instructor contact information is usually right there, and students also know to look for it. So that's one of the ways. And you can add images. You could add an image of yourself, again, just like you could in any other Canvas page. Other questions before we kind of go on?
Can you repeat again how you move the syllabus link up on the side?
Yeah, we are having more training sessions. So from 4 to 5 today, we'll also be covering some of these, but I do want to share that navigation because that's something that is underused, I think. So when you scroll down in any course, in the course navigation bar at the very bottom, it's settings. And so you choose settings, and it's this navigation tab. And that is where we recommend you can rearrange things, but you can also hide things. And our recommendation is hide everything that your students don't need to use. Because like anything else, it's always better if, when they're opening their screen, they've only got a few choices. You can see she's
you hide by clicking disable, right?
Yes, you hide it and you just scoot it down to the bottom and then it's disabled. And if a student, so all these things would just go below this fold here. You just hide them from the students.
Okay.
Felix, the session this afternoon focuses on Zoom, but the link I threw in the chat is from our session yesterday, which covers the Canvas basics, including this process.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, something else on Karen's course that I did want to point out that she does and that I highly recommend people do is to pull out some things, like she has a whole entire section for, of student created study tools that her students did, but there's also things that you can put where you have, see she's got her academic and personal support. And this goes to all kinds of different resources that students may need. And again, she has them go to the original link. So if, whoever owns, like for example, the counseling center, if whoever's in charge of that website changes the information, she doesn't have to change her link, but she's put it there and it's on, what we call the top level so that students, again, I'm under stress, I need something, I need to know something. Oh, I can just see this top level. I don't have to go dig into another document. I can click here and I can find all the basic information that I need. So again, one of those nice things that Canvas can do, with these different links that she's created. So it's, once she's done that, this page can be used in all of her classes, for example. So if you use these original links for the different support services, create it once and, or have, if anyone in your department has shared it, or if you know anyone who has a nice one, everybody does not need to recreate the wheel. And you can also add things like I'm sure in pharmacy or in nursing, there may be credential things that people might need to know, or different health things. And you can even add, customized links there that students might need to do. And I would put that, again, that's just a separate page that she has in that section. She added she added a Canvas page, called it that, but she added those things top level. So students, when they're looking at her class, they can figure out where they need to go and what they need to do. So with that, let me go back and we're going to move on to the schedule, because here's another big thing. Again, it's different than how many people have used it in Blackboard. I tried to find an image of Blur's Day, but it wouldn't go. And I think this is an issue that across the board, I hear people struggling with, students, faculty, everybody. The sense of time seems to be gone from us in many ways. And I wanted to share, the purpose of creating a schedule and the different options that you have in Canvas, and just, again, affirm the importance of having this as a standalone. Because again, in the old world, especially in face-to-face, you kind of had your habits and it was great. You got a syllabus and it was printed, and then you had it where it was, there 1 or 2 pages, but then also you would show up to face-to-face class, on a nice regular basis. And it was very easy for seeing where you were supposed to be, what was due. Faculty would remind you, put stuff on the whiteboard. Online, we don't always have that. And also, we don't want to spend time in any synchronous sessions discussing that when possible. We want to make sure that students have it so that they know exactly where to go. I did want to put, I put this link right here to keep, stop showing the other, to keep learning, this is one of the pages. So Felix, when you're asking about the page to share, we have a collection of, it's called Keep Teaching, and I have the link in there, and it has all these really nice resources, and it has things that you can share with your students as well for helping them with their time management. So again, you don't have to be the one teaching them that you'd hope that, you know, they had learned in elementary school and never did. You can share with them some helpful resources, so because it is a new environment to them as well.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Questions? Okay. So a few different things on the and ways we can do with the syllabus when we are using Canvas that are helpful for students and easy to do. So this is just an example of schedule options, and I just want to show you. So in Canvas, what a lot of people do, so here's the course schedule, and this is one of Steve Huntersmart's courses. Again, he's also taught a lot online. Now on his, he actually uses some other features in Canvas, so he knows they read them because they have to mark it down in order to continue, which is nice. You can see he's got that same introduction to the course himself, student support, syllabus, but the course schedule is a standalone. And so in this, you know, his is one, again, it's a copy paste job essentially. He doesn't have hyperlinks, nothing fancy, but he does have it right up front and center. So the student at any time, especially if they're on their phone, oh, what do I have to do? And he's just got the basics. It's easy on the eyes. They can just see where they need to be. He doesn't just have the week number, he's actually got the dates. And yes, that can be a pain to keep up with, but it is one of those things that really helps students because they're different, you know, the week numbers may be different from one instructor to another, or if they have a compressed course or a different length course. So having the actual date is also very nice. And again, this is the same thing that's on the bottom of his syllabus, but he includes it in his Start Here section as a standalone page. Now, some fun things that Canvas can do. So I showed you on the syllabus already where you clicked on, if you clicked on the syllabus link, now he puts his grading scale at the top there because he had it elsewhere in the graded assignments, and you can see what Dan was talking about, how you have to scroll down to see the bottom part, where, you know, it's got them in chronological order. However, Canvas also has, for a schedule, they have a couple different things that I want everybody to be aware of, just to make sure that you either use them how they're intended or go ahead and disable them because your students may find them. So there's this assignments. Now, he has it, it shows that it's disabled and not visible to students because he does not want them going here. He wants them going through his modules. But there is this assignment section your students can also click on. So in a sense, this can function as a schedule depending on how you do it. But again, it's showing anything that you added as an assignment that has the due date. But in this case, this assignments tab shows that you can do it by group. So you could do it depending on how your class is, if you have group projects, if you have discussions, or, you know, in his case, he doesn't use it at all. So it just has all the assignments as they happen to be added in random order. So if you're not going to use it, again, we recommend hiding it from students. But some people use this to give students an idea, especially of like the different categories of assignments. You know, it's, if they have like a group project or if they have, you know, discussions, because you can add a group and you just name your assignment group and then you can move them around there to make that, you know, again, a version of a schedule. So if you don't want to use that, we recommend hiding it, but Canvas automatically does create that.
By group, does that mean group of individuals on projects or group of assignment concepts?
In this case, it is group of assignments. So that lets you,
Thanks.
for example, if you have, you know, if you have 4 modules, you could name them module 1, so all the assignments, and you could put all the ones in the first 3 weeks, second 3 weeks, however you want to do it. So that group word goes to the kind of assignments. So some people really do enjoy using that, and it's a nice, easy way where you don't have to create another printed document, but it does have all the assignments in the order that you choose to have them if they're graded. But one of the tools that I really like, and I was completely unaware of how different this was from Canvas or I mean from Blackboard or Moodle, until one of our student workers showed me this feature. That it was so cool. So if you go to the calendar, notice the calendar is in the red bar. That's the global navigation. So that means that covers all your courses. So of course mine's gonna look really weird because I have memberships in all different courses. The calendar belongs to the student or to the faculty member. It belongs to the individual person. So this is my calendar. So it would show me every single class and every single due date that I have that's on here for all my classes, you know, all in one spot. And you can see, you know, over here where, you know, I can actually highlight and it will show me different, you know, you can color code with the 3 dots. So if I want, you know, that to be a certain color to make it stand out on the calendar, I can do things like that. So it has that feature. And Blackboard and other CMSs often have that. But what's really great about this in Canvas, it's different. So I always recommend, so you can add your own items. So you can, in one of your first sessions, you can orient students and have them add their group meeting times or whatever they wanted, or the times they plan to study for your class. But here's the feature that's super cool, is if they click on the agenda, so if you have made sure all your assignments that require students to submit anything have a due date, click on this agenda view, and this gives them the agenda for everything they have due. So again, teaching students that they can go ahead and have this feature where it will show them what's due for all their classes is one of those nice features to help them just manage their time.
Tracy, this is another place where an additional level of detail is helpful. Going back to what you said earlier about putting the date range in your schedule along with the week number, you can see here on Tuesday there's a Zoom meeting, and at 1 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock there's a Zoom meeting for class 101. Okay, so what is the first Zoom meeting for? That's because that instructor didn't put quite as much detail in the event as the second instructor. So, that's something to bear in mind. If you think, if you know your students are using this, or if you use this view in particular, more detail is always going to be better there.
Yes, absolutely. And that is a good point, especially in the first week we do have, but even past the first week, again, picturing anybody in any level of stress, or even just when you're getting started and you're new to all this as a new student, if you click on the wrong link, it's very embarrassing among other things. So just having that detail, so that just naming your classes, whatever the class is, so that students can know. So that's just another tool. So when we're talking about the schedule, just, kind of to recap, I'm going to go back one slide. It's very traditional. Most people are used to having it on the syllabus. We highly recommend doing some type of copy paste job and making it a standalone page in Canvas right at the top for syllabus, for students to be able to see. And then you have these other options that are there, which you can either hide or choose to use. And we are happy to help you, learn more, or even have a session. A lot of times we'll meet with faculty and you can screen share and we can guide you through how to make yours look the way you want it to look to match your syllabus. So those are some resources on your schedule. Because again, getting started, it's like anything else. Everybody wants to know their schedule. Where do I have to be? When do I have to be there? And how to calendar it. Oh, I didn't mention, but that calendar feature in Canvas, by the way, it does have a calendar feed. So they can put it on their own calendar. Of course, a lot of them don't do it, but it is there for those students. And sometimes it's a reminder. Yeah. So then the last topic is just that communication planning. And, again, this is a huge one, especially, with this whole pandemic stuff, because at any moment, whether someone gets stuck on quarantine, someone's schedule changes, someone isn't allowed to leave, someone has to leave, we go remote, whatever it is, having this communication plan in place is 100% critical. It actually presupposes everything else. And with that, I wanted to bring up and just share some different points about setting this up in ways that are going to help you retain your sanity. Because, you know, emails, you miss a day and boy, your email could just overwhelm you and you're squished and you don't even see it. And it's the same for our students. An email project, I think 2 years ago, we were looking at the emails that students got, and at different times between, you know, bookstore and all these other things that send them emails, students could get 60 emails in a day. So making sure that we use the online environment and the Canvas tools to as much mimic face-to-face routine, ritual, comfort, leadership. The more we can do that, the more successful our classes are going to be. So when I say planned, some of the things that go into planning, for example, if you have a face-to-face class, typically you either meet, you know, 1 night a week or 2 days a week or 3 days a week or 4 days, and there's a schedule and a ritual. Although online, especially asynchronous, students can do it whenever they need to, which can be fabulous because I did a lot of my, you know, my doctorate, it was hybrid. So a lot of it was at weird times around my schedule, but it's still nice for the communication plan to have that rhythm. And so you as instructor, even though their assignments may not be due until the end of the week, you can still always choose to do, for example, a Monday email. You know, not, and I'm saying email mistakenly. I'd like to say the word announcement, because if you do it, if you use the announcement tool in Canvas and say every Monday, I send out an announcement from Canvas to say, hey students, you know, this is what's going on this week. I don't know if you noticed, but this was in the news related to our discipline last, you know, over the weekend. Everybody did a great job. And, you know, kind of that recap and that guidance, just so they've gotten a piece of communication from you. And so they know, and then maybe a lot of times I do like a Monday, Thursday. So I give students even a heads up going into the weekend of, you know, hey, this weekend coming up, we've got X project, whatever. Because, and I pick those days and I communicate them early to my students so that they know, you know, those are the days that I'm sending out information. I always recommend sticking to that rather than just doing scattershot, because again, I've had faculty that say, I don't know why students didn't read all my emails, because I sent them all the emails. And when I look at the dates the emails were sent, it's like, well, it started out Monday, Wednesday, then it's Tuesday, then it's Friday, and then it's Monday, and they're all over the board. And so students don't know when to check their email for that class. So again, keeping it, choose your rhythm. And I recommend it, you know, twice a week for an announcement or once a week is a nice amount, because if you use the Canvas announcement tool, it also goes to their email. So they can either see it in the course or they can see it in their email, and they have control over that. They can have, you know, when you're using the Canvas announcement tools, they can set the settings so they could get it on their phone. They have control of it, but you don't have to worry about it. You've put it in the Canvas course where they could see it. And these things you can do ahead of time. So when you're looking at like your major assignment due dates and the criteria, you can literally make your drafts of your announcements for big things. You can write them all ahead of time, you know, and then just add in some details later on about, you know, how students did or something. Again, to make sure that they get that regular substantive feel, just like, again, face-to-face, they would know, you know, they go, if they show up at class, they get to see you. You say hello, you greet them, you welcome them, you share interesting things. So mimicking some of that. And I also say plan for another reason. When we did the emergency shift to remote in March, it was a great example of people who did not have this in place. You know, students were very freaked out. You know, you had the low achieving or the poorly skilled students who, oh, I didn't hear anything from so-and-so, so I guess I don't know what I have to do. And then they would check out for a week because everything else was taking everybody's attention. Or you have the high achieving students where it's like, oh my gosh, this changed. I haven't heard from them. I haven't heard from them. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then they email all their friends, and they email you, and then they email you again, and they email you like 3 times. How can you have... And so then your email is swamped, their email is swamped, they have anxiety, or they've checked out, but all those things are negative. Whereas with the faculty who already had, you know, Laura can speak to this because she's taught online and had been teaching online. You know, if you had a planned communication, it lessened that anxiety and stress load. So they knew, you know, what to do. And that's what I said. So plan, regular, positive. One of my favorite student feedback moments for myself was I used to teach a class at GVSU. It's the required ed tech class for all pre-service teachers, and I inherited the class. I didn't create the unit structure that was that first year, but I instituted virtual conferences, and I had them a couple times throughout the year. And what the students told me, one group of students told me that they dreaded getting emails or announcements from me because the course that I inherited, you would send out the one announcement listing 2 weeks worth of work. And so they would open up this announcement and it shared, here are all the things you have to do in the next 2 weeks. And even though in itself it was a positively written thing, the way they interpreted it is, like, oh, somebody just slammed, a whole big giant workload and they felt like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. And it was great that they shared that with me. And so completely changed the strategy for the emails that I sent. So a lot of times I would try, again, focus on that positive, make sure there's something positive, make sure there's a reason that they would want to read your email. Whether it's a funny joke or that you read or something interesting in the news that might be relevant to their, what they've been doing. Those are some of the things that you absolutely want to make sure that you are being very positive, because again, they're getting all kinds of email. And if they were with you face to face, anybody can walk down the halls of any Ferris campus. You see good things happening. You see faculty talking and students talking, and it's positive. Communicating that in the email, you really just have to make that extra effort so it doesn't just kind of hit them as a negative. Questions before I go on to a little bit to the next bit? I did want to say this provide proactive backup method. That right there, I probably could have devoted a whole other slide to that, and Dan might speak to it in Zoom. But one of the things with the connectivity and the use of Zoom is making sure, and this is something I would either put directly in my syllabus area or in a standalone Canvas page, is letting students know what to do if they or I get knocked out of Zoom. So, because some of that, or if they can't get into Zoom, because if you're teaching in Zoom, especially in the first couple of weeks when you're, meeting your new students and worried about getting everything right, it's difficult. You're in Zoom, so I'm on Zoom, so I'm not on email, and I don't have my phone necessarily here. So you can email me and tell me that you can't get in Zoom, but I'm not reading my email until after. So making sure that the students know what exactly is that method. If I try and get in Zoom and I can't, what do I do? Are you going to mark me down and fail me for that class attendance? Am I just going to miss it? Or, those types of things, again, so that students know what's expected, as well as, and then you're not going to get swamped with all those, but I did this and I did that. If they know ahead of time, it just adds to that feeling of comfort level. There are programs, I do recommend giving out cell phone for texting. I have not had people use that negatively in my own experience. However, there are options such as Google Voice where, because again, you might not want to give your personal cell phone. You might, teach more students. I tend to only teach, 20 to 40 students a semester because I'm teaching only as adjunct, but you might want to use a different one, and we can help you set up Google Voice or some alternative, but so that way they've got, again, more of an instant way. And I'm going to share this other, I did not realize when I doing the slide every time I'm trying to get to, when I put the links, lesson learned on putting links on my slides, I'm going to put them up higher so that it doesn't hit the slide menu bar. Don't forget, there is the faculty guide that is out there. And so there are other resources like, on this from different faculty with some of their examples on how to create a course communication plan. So I did want to share that. That is part of the faculty guide. And it covers a lot of the things that we've been talking about, both yesterday and through the week. And it has all this. I will be updating some of these to add in more information, but it has some of these, again, some of these basics about how to teach, online and various variations with that. So I did want to make sure that people knew that that was there. And then the last thing is, it's called the 3S method for communicating. And this link does go to the presentation. It's an old presentation that I did in the virtual symposium, but again, it just gives a little bit more detail for how to structure your announcements. You know, simple, segmented, structured, and I would stick to that. And again, it helps me and any other faculty member I know use it, make sure that I'm communicating just the most important things in a clear way. And it helps students, again, that ritual, where to look for things. It's nice to have that routine and that common signage. And with that, like I said, this link on that slide that's in that presentation, that goes to our training page, which has links to all those main sites that I shared. Every single one of them is on there. And we are more than happy to help answer any questions. So with that, it's free. I'm going to stop and say we're here. If there are any additional questions, we can stay for a few more minutes. And
I do have a couple questions.
Yeah.
I think you'd mentioned that you recommend having an attendance policy. So I have two things. I have purely online classes right now, and then I'm going to have two classes that are Zoom based.
Yep.
And I usually, over the years with my face-to-face, have an attendance policy. So how can I have an effective attendance policy? And should part of that be having their cameras on or not?
okay, I actually don't tend to have a direct attendance policy myself. However, I say that with the caveat that I structure my classes so that whether it's a face-to-face meeting or it's an online meeting, there's either a piece of information or a task that the students have to do during that time that can't really be done without that information. So I figure if by some miracle they can do it without being there, great for them. That rarely happens. They usually have fairly good attendance, although keep in mind right now, there are a lot of stories where students are kind of fading off. To the attendance in Zoom, what I recommend, for one of the easiest ways to do it is not to have them turn on the camera for the whole time, but a lot of times have it where either you have breakout sessions, and before they go into breakout sessions, make sure that they've at least done introductions or turn their cameras on for brief periods. But like Denise shared, I mean, she has a personal, oh, I don't know if you were there, Spence, but bottom line, she had, I don't know, I guess she shared it with everybody. Bottom line, she didn't want to share a camera because she just had some eye surgery done.
Right.
People have, family members and stuff like that, in backgrounds, or they're in places they don't want to share where they are. So I respect that people don't want to share their background or their bandwidth for the entire time, but it is okay to briefly have them turn it on at, a point in the middle. But you can also, within the first 10 minutes, make sure that everybody types their name in the chat, because when Zoom saves it, it'll save a record of that. So that way it's, number one, it's them doing the work, not you, because they have to type their name. And it also gives them, as silly as it sounds, it gives them something little to do. It also makes sure they know how to use the chat feature. And then you can also do things, to keep them active, in, your hour-long session, and I recommend always try and end early for questions. Liz Post suggests, instead of, so if we were face-to-face, a lot of times, you do your lecture, you can see when they're bored, you break it up, you do small group chats, it's much more easier to manage. In Zoom, it's kind of harder because they are looking at a square. If you shorten your lecture part and then, at the end, use the breakout rooms, and that's what the 4 o'clock session is today, on different ways to use them, but send them to the breakout rooms in small groups that you've identified. And I recommend using the same groups each time when possible. Give them a small task to discuss. One that's not going to take, say, the full 15 minutes, but it's an icebreaker essentially, because if you just send them to a breakout room as students, they're not going to talk to each other. There may be somebody, but traditionally people are nervous. You go into a Zoom room with, unless you have a reason to talk, you're not going to talk if you're 18, 19, 20 years old. And a lot of adults too, it's that anxiety thing, but letting them go to that. So again, and then you just bop around. So they've got a small group time to talk to you. So that's one of the other strategies. Or again, at different sessions and during the year, we can talk, we have sessions on like using Mentimeter or polls or different ways so that while they are in the lecture, they are having something to do or some type of reaction so that you know they're actually there. Because otherwise, you know, it's kind of like you don't know.
Mhm.
But to be
Okay.
bluntly honest and face to face, I had my reading methods teacher going back, you know, 1992. I'll never forget. She said, you know, a lot of times when you're lecturing, the person looking at you is not the person paying attention, and the person who's staring down, staring elsewhere, who may even be doodling, they could actually be paying more attention to you.
Mhm.
But that is a great question.
Okay, another question. I think you mentioned that they're overwhelmed with typical Ferris type emails.
Yep.
But so then you recommend communicating within the Canvas email or communication system. Is that what you were leading to?
Yes, so I'm going to handle, so Denise asked about adding them to the Zoom lecture. If you're admitting them, it still doesn't show up their attendance unless you have them pre-registered. When it saves it later, you don't get the record of their attendance unless you do something like take the screenshot of the participants list, or some people take a screenshot of their whole screen so they can see everybody's names for attendance. So that's why I do have them actually type their name. So as far as the email, if you email, you know, like when you go to Banner and you can email your class from the roster, if you use that feature, then they only get it in their email, and they only get it in their email with everybody else's email.
Yes.
If you, and so their other email, you know, again, can be pretty overwhelming because even our, you know, more traditional students might have other email accounts and jobs. But if you use the Canvas email, I mean, the Canvas announcements feature, not only it will automatically, it goes to their email. So they get it in their email as an announcement.
Does it get to their ferris.edu email or whatever email they have woven in some other place?
Both and. It will go to their ferris.edu email, and they can add other places if they want.
Okay.
So it does go from Canvas announcements, it will go to their ferris.edu email. That's the automatic default setting. And then if they miss it there, when they log into Canvas, they can also, you can pin it to the top where they can click on the announcements to see if there's anything they missed. So that way it's in both places. So yes, it goes to their official email.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll follow up with you, Tracy, questions about Google Voice that you mentioned, and also the Candorly or whatever.
Calendly, yep.
Yes, I'll follow up with you on that to get more information. Thank you.
Yep, that sounds good. Thanks. Any other questions?
I don't have a new question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Felix. And thank you,
Tracy and Dan.
thank you everyone for showing up. And again, we'll be posting the recording. I'm not sure which playlist, but that'll go out in a UWN wherever we decide to post them. But in the meantime, you still have the actual presentation link. I think, and I can put it in again.